Hello, hello, hello. Blurbs and Verbs listeners and viewers. I am Chanel Spellman-Timmons, poet and author of your soon-to-be favorite speculative thriller, Synchrony, and The Hungry Wives, which is a delicious black vampire story that I am currently first drafting over on my Substack. Go check that out. I am beyond thrilled for this episode, y'all. It is my very first author spotlight. I've been obsessed with all things books and authors since I was 7 years old and realized that I too could be one. So being able to chit chat with an author is my literal dream come true. So I'm extremely excited. On this segment of Blurbs and Verbs, I do cover the 5 W's. So that is the who, what, when, where, and why you write, or why my author writes. And because I really want my viewers and my listeners to get really good and familiar with the authors that I invite onto my podcast, because they all need to be put on to some top tier writing. So let's just go ahead and jump into the who I have in the spotlight today. It is my honor to introduce my guest, Mbinguni. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey,
How are you
thank you
doing
so much for
today?
having me. I'm
The-
good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad you're here. Let me, before I um, start throwing questions at you, I do want to read your bio. It is quite a bio. Um, So, about the author, storyteller at heart. Celestial Holmes, known by the pseudonym Mbinguni, is a renowned author and multifaceted professional. With a background in computer programming and 15 years of experience as an instructional designer, Celestial has seamlessly transitioned into the realm of writing. Under the banner of New Reads Publications, her debut novel, Looking for Hope, which we'll be talking about today, captivated readers worldwide and has earned a prestigious 4.9 star rating on Amazon and Goodreads. Celestial's talent and dedication have been acknowledged through distinguished fellowships, including the 2022 Hurston Wright Screenwriting Fellowship, 2023 and 2024 Kimbilio Fellowship, the 2024 Community of Writers Workshop, and she has been selected to attend the 2026 Chateau de Orgvaux Artist and Writers Residency in France. In addition to her work as an author, Celestial is also known for crafting compelling narratives as a copywriter for various companies. She's also a celebrated freelance writer and celebrity interviewer for blackgirlnerds.com, where she shares her unique perspectives on diverse topics. Furthermore, Celestial is widely recognized as a co-host on the immensely popular Watch Them Thrones podcast, affiliated with the esteemed platform Black with No Chaser. Driven by a thirst for knowledge and adventure, Celestial pursues various hobbies, including archery, horseback riding, and scuba diving. Born and raised in Fernandina Beach, Florida, she attributes her passion for storytelling to her grandparents, whose love for reading, film, and television inspired her from an early age. Welcome, Mbinguni. So excited for this.
Thank you.
So, my very first question that I have for you is, how did you choose your pseudonym? What's the story behind your name?
Oh, that's a long one. Let me see if I can give you the short version. So my family has a book club, and we put on an event, and we haven't done so in quite some time. We kind of stopped after my grandmother transitioned because that's the whole reason we were doing the book club. But we would have guests, and we would often surprise the audience or the guests with the author when we would do these events. And which the event was called the Fancy Hat Literary Luncheon, and it was held at the Ritz-Carlton. As a kind of, not like a joke, but I mentioned to my aunt that I was dabbling with writing a book, and she kind of said, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if we surprised the group with you as an author? And so that kind of evolved over the years. Both of my grandparents passed before I got the book done. And so we ended up surprising about 50 something women, many of those women who'd known me since I was from birth or a small child. And so we picked the pseudonym for me to kind of hide in plain sight. So Mbinguni is the Swahili translation of celestial.
Oh,
And
okay.
my aunt gave me that name, and she gave me the name Celestial at birth. So she has named me in both, my real name and my pseudonym.
Yeah.
That's how it came about, and we surprised those women. No one in the room besides my aunt had any idea that I had written the book, and it was 50-something women, and they said their true feelings about the book, which you got to have some cojones to do that. Just sit in a room and listen to these people talk, and they don't know it's you. But thankfully, everyone loved the book, and it was a wonderful experience. I would not trade that for the world. It's one of the best experiences of my life. And
Oh my gosh.
when they found out it was me, I got a standing ovation.
Oh,
It was a really special moment.
I'm so glad I asked the question. I really love that. The intentionality, the whole surprise element. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Something else I love, I appreciate the Black Girl Nerds platform a lot. And I checked out your article. I don't want to get the article name wrong. I believe it's Holy and Hoodoo Decolonizing Faith. Yes, I read that and I was like, I've got to talk about this article. I've got to bring it up, and I will definitely link it so folks can have easy access to it. So the article, it pulls back the many, many intricate layers to be found in what I believe was the best movie of 2025. Ryan Coogler's film Sinners. I really do. I love that movie so much. And your articulation on the film is a whole word. I mean, it's not a film review, y'all. That's not what it is. It very much so unpacks why African spirituality has been demonized, and then how we have subsequently been finding ways to reclaim it. And I just have a really quick question for you. Do you have a preference between writing fiction and writing more so like journalist style, creative nonfiction think pieces?
That's a good question. And I really kind of have to sit with that for a second, because where I feel most comfortable is fiction. I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of live in my head. I'm one of those people, I like to do things by myself, so I may go out to dinner by myself or whatever. So I could be sitting at dinner by myself and I'm making up stories about the people around me and what's happening at the table. So that's where I feel comfortable. But I do also enjoy writing the other type of material, and that it's more challenging for me. And I don't feel as confident in that type of writing. So I will say fiction is probably, because that's where I feel comfortable. So I'm very much still learning, but that is just where I feel at home.
Got it.
But I do enjoy both.
Yeah, well, you did your thing with that article. I highly suggest folks go check that out. All right, so let's go ahead and ease into the what, now that I've introduced the who. So can you tell us the name and the genre of your first published novel, and just give us a quick little blurb? You know how when we're like querying agents, and they do that horrible form of torture and ask us to give them that little short few sentences blurb. I'd love for you to do that for us and just introduce the listeners and the viewers to your world.
Okay. So my debut novel is titled Looking for Hope. It was released in 2021, 2022, one of those. And it's a coming-of-age tale. So the main character, Anna Mouse Maynard, is 7.5 when you meet her. And it is the story of how her life gets turned upside down. And the tragedy that happens is sort of like a catalyst for an adventure with her father. And they meet some very colorful characters along the way. And it's really a story about losing your voice, losing everything, and finding your way back with love.
I love that. It was perfect. I just want to show the cover here. I have it in physical copy, which I'm very thankful of because I've been reading so much on my tablet these days. So I'm just really thankful to have that copy. Okay, so what motivated you to write the very first sentence? Like when you first sat down and started Looking for Hope, what was the motivation behind that? And also what helped you see it all the way through to the end?
So I will have to say the motivation actually was Mouse. She would not let me go. I'm constantly thinking of story ideas, and I've gotten better with all the technology that we have with like when an idea hits me, jotting it down, making sure I'm keeping those ideas. But when she came to me, I actually kind of had like a visual of what she looked like, and her clothes told me what era she was from. And so I was like, okay. And I immediately knew what had happened, the catalyst for the story.
Okay.
That came to me first. And so, like I said, she wouldn't let me go. And what sustained me through that process, because I was really, and still sometimes, was suffering from, the whole, I hate to even say the word because this, to me, is, I don't know what to describe it, but we call it imposter syndrome. I was still wrestling with, is anybody going to read a book that I write? Does anybody want to hear what I have to say? And so because of that, it took me really a total of 14 years. But I didn't get serious. It was really the last 3 years that where I was serious and I buckled down. And what sustained me through that process was having mentors who really believed in my work and my gift. And so that's what, and accountability. And people say, okay, where's that next chapter? So that's what kept me going.
So now, what about 14, 15 years later, now that you have folks talking about this book, reading this book, interviewing you about this book, how does that feel? Knowing that you started from a place of, will anybody even read this, to now being interviewed about this, how's that feeling for you?
I love it. I love to talk about the process of writing, the characters, in the book, because they have become family to me. And I really love the characters. And so it's always fun and an adventure of its own for me to kind of talk about the book. So, and I actually continue to learn new things about things that I did in the book, and things that are in the book that are really such a part of me. It's a continual learning process and a continual process of discovery of myself when I talk about the book. And so I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of learning process, I would love to hear you talk about your publishing process. What did that entail for you? How long did it take from beginning to end? And do you have any, was it a dreadful or a joyful experience for you?
So it ended up being joyful, and here's why. When I finished like one of the earliest drafts of the book, and due to my inexperience, I thought I was done. I had done it. I was finished. And one of my mentors started rattling off all this stuff because I think she had the assumption that I wanted to self-publish. And she started rattling off questions. Did I have this? Had I done that? And I was like, excuse me, what now? Girl, I just wanted to write this book.
I wrote the
I don't
book.
know nothing about all of that. And I don't want to know nothing about all of that.
Right.
And so I started the process of pursuing traditional publishing, which I got some definite bites, but then it kind of became, we don't quite know what we want to do with this story. And because of the event and because of the reveal, I kind of was on a time crunch. And I had no desire to do any of those things that my mentor had mentioned. And my aunt mentioned to me, hey, Nikesha, who is a well-known author in the area that I'm from, she's like, she's going to do a talk on publishing at the local library. You should go. And so I went, and Nikesha, as a fumble on her part, mentioned she had a publishing company, and I was like, hey, girl, hey, listen, I got this little book. And so she was very clear that she does not publish all projects. It does have to meet a certain standard. Sent her the project. She was interested. She said, but here's some things that I need you to do. So I had to edit, which I was not accustomed to. That was my first, I had been editing, but she gave me some tips that I did not know, again, because I'm not, I didn't go to school for writing. And so we went through an editing pass and got it up to her standards, and she published it, and she is an Emmy Award winning journalist. And so, as that would indicate, she does not play. And so, and that was
Mm,
one of the reasons I wanted to go with her, because I knew it was going to be done well. Everything that I do, I try to execute in the spirit of excellence. And so I work with people who work that way.
yeah,
And so that is what she did. That's why the book cover looks like it looks. She took care of all of that.
love
And
that.
so that from that point, once we made an agreement that she would publish the book, it was easy peasy for me. I just had to get the writing up to snuff,
Yeah.
and I worked very hard to do that. And it actually turned into a friendship. So we are friends today.
Oh, I
And
love
she's
that.
on a beautiful writing journey of her own. Her book is coming out January. Simon and Schuster, or a subsidiary of Simon and Schuster, the Seven Daughters of Dupree, will be out in
Okay.
January.
Love
So
that. So if Nikesha, wants to slide through the podcast, we can
I
for
will actually.
sure.
I'll send. We'll
Yes, we will
that
talk
on.
about it. We will talk about it. So we've actually talked about this before. I know your favorite character in the book is also one of my favorite characters in the book, and that is Miss Sookie.
Hmm.
What was the inspiration for her character? This is a two-part question.
Hmm.
So, what was the inspiration for her character? And if she were on social media, which platform do you think Miss Sookie would shine the most on, and what would
Oh,
her
that
what would her
easy.
name be?
Okay, you said what would her name be?
What would her name be?
Oh, I don't know what her name. I had to think about that one.
Okay.
Um, so Misuki is probably, I think she's the fan favorite. Most people really love Misuki. And she was the second character to come to me, and like Mouse, she showed herself to me. And when I saw her, I knew who she was and what she did. I
Okay.
knew she was in charge of the girls. And so it was just a pleasure to write Misuki, and she just remains one of my favorite characters. I think Misuki would be over on TikTok, because Misuki would have a wig collection that she's selling on on the TikTok shop.
Yep.
Now, what her name would be, I don't know.
So you know where my mind went, because I also
Oh,
thought TikTok, and I was like, her name would be Sookie Sookie now.
that is appropriate. I can see that. I can
I,
absolutely see that with
I
her
can so
wigs.
yes, with her wigs in the shot, like yes, I can so see it.
Oh.
Definitely one of my favorite characters.
Mhm.
So I know another favorite of yours. This is a favorite author, is the one and the only Toni Morrison. For sure, a favorite author of mine, also a muse of mine. What ways would you say that Tony's magnificent body of work has shaped your own writing voice, style? Yeah, how has she shaped you?
That's an interesting question. Well, I will say the reason she is one of my favorites is I started getting into reading very early. And so I was reading Toni Morrison in middle school. And the first book that I read from her was The Bluest Eye. And when I read that book, it took my breath away. I was like, you can do that with language? It was like because I read plenty of books up to that point, but that one was the one that moved me, that was like, I want to do that with words. Like, I want
Yeah.
to make somebody feel that way when they read my work. So I would say the way that she's probably influenced me is I really tried. I love beautiful language and beautiful prose, and so I'm still learning, how to do that, and I by no means think that I'm on her level, but it's deeper to me than just the words on the page. It's trying to capture the essence of these people, the story, and like Miss Morrison, I love Black people, and I always want us to be represented well on the page. Even when it's not characters that we like, because I have a character that everybody hates in
Listen,
my, and
yes, you
even
do.
though, right, even though I knew who he was and what he was going to do, I still wanted to make an effort to humanize him and to write him beautifully enough for people to, while they didn't like him, to see the humanness in him, or the humanity in him. So
Yeah.
I think that's how she really has impacted my work. It's just really trying to be careful that we're giving a full picture.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it comes through so beautifully in this book. And your writing voice is so impactful and it's so strong. And I'm a believer, I think most people believe this, it's a very common belief that to be a good writer, you must be an avid reader, which makes perfect sense. You started reading early, fell in love with The Bluest Eye, which is one of my all time favorite books. And then it sounds like just became super inspired by the way Toni Morrison can lace a sentence together. Like nobody.
Man, listen, I strive to be able to do that. Not to write like her, but to, just to have that type of command of words.
That's a perfect word for it.
She
Because
has
it
such
is.
a command of words. It's just, I haven't seen anything else like that.
No, it's yeah, she was phenomenal. What are you currently reading, and or what has been your favorite read of this year?
Favorite read of this year probably would be, it's How Beautiful We Were, Imbolo Mbue.
Okay.
Now she also has an amazing command of language, and I believe she is African. And I tend to find I really love the way they use language as well.
The lyricality.
It's very beautiful. So that would probably be my favorite read of the year. What I'm currently reading is Toni Morrison's A Mercy, because I had never read that one. And so as I prepare for yet another pass of my next novel, my second novel, I wanted to kind of refresh myself with the way that she writes.
Yeah, well, that's a good practice.
Yeah.
Actually, a perfect segue into the next section, which is the win. So I want to pull back the veil a bit on your writing process. So when you sit down at your laptop or in front of your notebook to write, what happens? When does the plot unfold for you? I know you had mentioned that one of the characters in the book, Mouse, that you actually met her first. She kind of revealed herself to you before you even knew what the story was about. Does that always happen for you, or is it a balance? Was that the first time? So what happens when you sit down and write?
So when I sit down to write, the practice that I have developed now, and it's specifically because of this second novel, because I decided to, like a nutcase, walk away from corporate and focus on getting this second book done. That afforded me the ability to, one, allow writing to be the first thing that I do in the morning. And so I will wake up, get my dog situated, get my tea if that's what I'm going to do. And then when I sit down at my laptop, because I'm a typer, I don't handwrite too much of anything out. The bird's so loud. I begin with meditation and prayer. And then, because I fully believe all creatives, not just writers, that all creators are vessels. And we are channeling when we do what we've been to do. And so I sit down, pray, meditate, and then I call on ancestors, specific names of people who I want to be with me as I write, for them to help guide me, to give me the words, or to give me whatever it is I need to get this next passage that I'm working on done. And so that has served me well as a process. And also to honor and to show that I'm thankful, and to show creator, source, God, whatever people call that entity or that spirit, that I'm grateful. Creatives, it's a double-edged sword, and it's often a hard cross to carry. It's a very lonely process, because for me, I cannot tap in if it's a bunch of activity or people going on around me. I have to be by myself in the quiet. I can't. Now, some people can use music. I don't really play music. I'm usually in the quiet. And so it's me saying thank you. It's me saying use me. It's me saying I'm open. And so that's what I do.
That's beautiful. You actually, my next question was going to be, are there any rituals that you do as you're writing? And so you definitely answered that question. Did you put yourself on a writing schedule for your first book? Like, what did that look like?
For my first book, not until I got serious, and during that time I was working. I also had a nonprofit.
So it was
At
like when
that
you
point,
could.
it was very much, if I could steal a couple of hours in the evening,
Yeah.
mostly at night, and on the weekends. And so now, well, I've taken a break from the second novel. I needed to kind of take a moment to step back from it. But during the heaviest part of that process, every day,
Yeah.
from early in the morning to I would try to write until 12. I didn't always hit that every day.
That's yeah. That when you get to the like meat of it and you realize, oh, actually, in order to finish a book, I
You gotta
actually
sit
have
down
to
and write
sit
the
in this
thing.
chair and write every single day. Like that's the real part. I love what you have to say about showing gratitude as you are writing. It's such a, to me, it's a symbiotic relationship. Like us as the writer, as the vessel, and then ancestors who are guiding, who I think very much so help us piece these stories together. And so to hear you talk about the gratitude that you show throughout the process, I love that. When do you know the story is done? How did you know when Looking for Hope and your second book? How did you know when these books were complete?
So for Looking for Hope, I told you I thought I was done when
Right.
when I started looking for a publisher. But after she gave me notes and things that she needed me to do, I went through the book, did the edits and the rewrites, and I wrote the last sentence, and it was like a damn verse. I sat at my computer and I wept. And that's when I knew that book was done. I
Yeah.
haven't really had that moment for this book, and
Oh,
I
it's
think
not
because I
done.
know it's not done, you know what I'm saying? Having gone through the process now and having started the querying process and some of the feedback that I'm getting, I know it's not done. But I will say when I finished the first draft, the first full draft of it, so I have my grandmother and my writing mentor who has transitioned as well send me signs. For my grandmother is ladybugs, and for my writing mentor is dragonflies. And the day I finished the last draft, the full first draft, I took my dog outside, and immediately a dragonfly flew up to me, flew off. And then I walked further out, and I looked up in a tree, and there was a ladybug on the underside of a leaf. And so I said, okay.
Yep.
Like, okay, y'all are telling me, when you see me, I did it.
Yeah.
So that was a good feeling because it was, I've done the worst part of this. I've finished the biggest part, which is at least coming to an end. I know the beginning, middle, and end of the story. I've written all of it. Now the process will be just reshaping
Yeah.
and refining and polishing it up. But the bulk of the work is probably done.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Um, where in Looking for Hope did you surprise yourself the most? Without giving too much away, we're trying to be spoiler free, but where in this story were you like, what the? Where did that come? Where did that even come from?
The tent. I will say that. Miss Pearl. That was like, oh, okay, girl. Like, and especially, later on.
Yeah,
So what is revealed. And so that was a nice little moment
it was.
when it
It
came
was.
out.
I think it was like that was also one of my favorite moments. A little speculative. Little, yeah, I love that. It was one of my favorite moments. I won't say too much because I want y'all to go read this book, and then you can hop in Mbinguni's comments or my comments to talk
Absolutely.
about what we are talking about. Um, okay, so that's actually a great spot for me to ask you to choose a passage from Looking for Hope, something that speaks to you, perhaps a part that was particularly active for you to write. And what I mean by active, so you were honestly just talking about it, and I share the same sentiments. When I write scenes, sometimes the characters will literally, they might as well just pull up a chair. They're just sitting there begging and telling me, Chanel, this is what I need you to say. So I would love for you to share a passage, but before you do, as the why portion, I'd love to know why you chose that passage. And why you wrote that particular section, if you can remember.
So I chose the passage where we first meet Miss Sookie. And I think Miss Sookie, like you said, how the characters might as well pull up a chair. Miss Sookie's very bossy. And she let me know very much. There were parts where I wanted to write one thing, and she was like, no, that's not how that's going to go. I'm like, who's the author? What are we doing, sis? So I just think it is a very, excuse me, I like this passage because we get to meet Miss Sookie, and we kind of get a sense of who she is and who she is in relation to Mouse, or who she's becoming in relation to Mouse.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of my favorite passages. Excuse me. Sookie's was a 2-story house that stood at the corner of Williams and Stark. The house had a simple exterior, tan in color with white trim and shutters. The roof was covered with shingles that were the same color as the house. The front porch had a small table with 2 wooden chairs on both sides of the door and a long swing hanging from the top of the far right end. The chairs and the swing had matching gold cushions. Ray marched right up the stairs and knocked on the front door despite the bystanders that looked at the house and us with their mouths turned up as if they smelled something stink. The door opened to a statue of a woman looking shocked at our arrival. Well, ain't nobody knocked on this front door in ages. Y'all ain't from around here, she said with squinted eyes. The woman looked Ray up and down. Then she turned her attention to me and studied me for an uncomfortable moment. What can I do for you? She turned her attention back to Ray. Me and my daughter here need a place to stay. I can work for you to cover both our room and board. Now, ain't this something? What's y'all's names and where you from? Franklintown, North Carolina. I'm Ray, and this here is Hannah. The woman inhaled and exhaled slowly. And how y'all know to come here? I didn't, ma'am. It just looked like a place where I might be able to find what I'm looking for. You can call me Miss Sookie. She paused as if she was thinking something over. Well, I sure do need the help of a big, strong man around here. And I need a young lady who can do some things around the house that I just don't have time to do no more. Y'all come on in. Miss Sookie shifted her weight back and pulled the door open further while eyeing us both. The folks around here let you run this place with no trouble? Ray asked, looking around at the girls who'd gathered in the study, which we passed as we followed Miss Sookie. I thought it was strange that there was only young women living in this house. The black folks turn down their noses at us, but they leave us alone. The white folks pretend as if we ain't here. This house sits between both sides of town and is mine, free and clear. We all mind our own business, and it works out just fine. This house going to be a problem for you? No, ma'am. I mean Miss Sookie. Miss Sookie was larger than life. She dressed in clothes that I had never seen before. Smooth, satiny material, brilliant yellows and reds, blues and greens. Every curve over her body was hugged by fabric, like a family member you'd loved and hadn't seen in ages. Her shoes had a heel higher than any shoes Mama had worn. The sound of her heels beating the floor created a rhythm that made you want to dance. She almost looked as if she was dancing when she walked. She had on a lot of makeup, much more than I'd ever seen anyone wear. Through 2 blue eyeshadow and 2 red lips, I could still see how pretty she really was. I was sure she was far older than she looked, but upon asking how old she was, I was told never to ask a woman her age. You can tend to the grounds and maintain the house, and Hannah can tend to my room. I haven't had a customer in years. I make enough money to pay the bills and live comfortably without having to entertain personally, she explained to Ray. I wondered what her talent was. Could she juggle? Maybe she could sing. I didn't think she was quite tall or slender enough to be like the dancers in the picture shows. She wasn't exactly fat, but she wasn't thin either. Ray, before the week is out, take Hannah on down to that school. In the evening, she needs to be cleaning my room or in y'all room. I can't have no kids running around here while my girls are trying to work. No man wants to screw a whore with a child around. It reminds them of their obligations at home. They come here to forget about all that. For a while anyway, Miss Sookie said wistfully. What was a whore and what did they have to do with screws? Ray used screws around me just fine when he built stuff. I shrugged off my confusion. Well, I don't think Mouse needs to go to no school, Ray responded doubtfully. Miss Sookie's eyebrows drew together at the use of Mouse, then relaxed in recognition that he was talking about me. Miss Sookie responded matter-of-factly, whether you think she need to go or not, she don't need to be around here looking at grown folk being grown. It ain't good for a girl child. She'll learn when she's old enough what goes on between a man and a woman, but for now, she's too young. If you want to work here, you're going to have to do as I ask on that one. All right, I'll take her tomorrow. Ray and I both understood that was the final say on the matter. And one last thing, Ray. As the only rooster living in the hen house, Miss Sookie said, as she looked at him long and hard, stay away from my girl. And that's why I ended.
Listen. I love Miss Sookie. I can hear her heels going across that floor, and that's what I'm talking about. The layers in which I feel right to all the senses throughout this book. I can see things clearly. I can hear it. I can smell some scents throughout the book. It's just, I love it. I will definitely read it again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that passage. It was a beautiful passage. What are you currently working on?
So the second novel, which is beating me, it's whipping me now. I'm trying to think what I can tell you about it. It's very different from this one.
Okay.
And it has taught me that I cannot pigeonhole how books come to me, because this has been a totally different process for me with this book than it was for Looking for Hope. It's a dual timeline, which I haven't done, and it is set in the first main character is set in 2022, and the second main character is set in 1989, and it's a father and son, and we go back and forth between their lives and the things that they are fighting against in their lives. So it's a generational. Well, I shouldn't say it's not generational. It's about the lies that are told in families. It's about legacy. So it's got a lot of elements, and anything I write is going to have a touch of something mystical or unexplainable in it.
So that sounds amazing. I am already ready to sit myself down somewhere, curl up, and read it. So where does this particular book, Looking for Hope, because you mentioned some themes of your second book, where does Looking for Hope sit in kind of the larger constellation of things that you want to say and express as an artist? So in other words, like, what are you trying to get across to your readers? And are there any commonalities, like through your first book and your second book, things or themes that are kind of reoccurring for you?
So for Looking for Hope, it was really about love and the power of love to get us through the worst possible things that could happen in our lives. And it was also what I didn't realize I was writing until it was done, and doing some rereading it and doing interviews, it was also really about Black women and how we operate within the community, and the relationships that we forge, and how important that has been in my life, and why. So that's why it showed up in the book the way that it did. And so those were the themes for Looking for Hope. And like I said, that particular one, I didn't set out to do that. It was really just me focusing on love and the overcoming power of love. And then that's what blossomed out of it. This one is more about legacy and family, and while the first one was about found family, this one is not as much about found family, but it's about how we operate within familial structures with the lies that families tell, because all families do it. We hide stuff. I will say Black families because that's what I'm a part of, and that's my experience, and I can't speak for other experiences. But 20 years down the line, you find out Jimmy ain't really Bobby Daddy, and
And then
and
why do
all
these things
kinds of
always
stuff
come out
that
around the holiday? Like,
the
why is it right
holidays or
before?
funerals. It's one of the two. It's gonna come out. So, so it's about how those little ripples of those lies, they what's the word I'm looking for? They spread out and how
Hmm.
they affect things,
It's a domino
um,
effect.
and how they shape things. And so it's something.
It sounds like something. I can't wait. Um, so for next year, how might your writers be able to connect with you, interact with you, and also where can they find looking?
So they can find Looking for Hope wherever they like to buy books. It is on Amazon. You can find it on the Barnes and Noble's website, wherever you shop for your books. If you prefer to shop with independent or small black-owned bookshops, you're going to have to ask them to order it, which they can do.
Okay.
Um, but a lot of them probably won't have it just sitting in the store. Find me. I'm kind of a recluse. I'm not even gonna lie.
Listen, I'm not gonna hold you. I understand.
I'm on all of the social platforms, but I'm probably most active on Threads.
Hmm.
Even though I don't post a lot, I'll
You be
pop my head
lurking?
up. Yeah, yeah. I'll pop, well, I will say I don't lurk because I do comment and like, and so I'm
Yeah.
not just there spying on people. Uh, but I will pop my head up every now and again on the socials. I'm debating on whether or not I want to get involved with Substack and what that would look like. I haven't quite figured that out.
Hmm.
So because I feel like I need to get my voice out there more with other types of writing.
Hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Come on over to
Um,
Substack.
Oh, look, I'm over there. I just don't post anything.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, Threads, maybe Substack, but for
Hmm.
the most part, I'm kind of quiet. I stay to myself and my little, group of people that I know
Right.
love me, which I will have to say, and that's just to give a shout out to them on this if they happen to see it. My village
Hmm.
has been so amazing during this time.
Hmm.
Like, I won't say much more because I will get very weepy.
Oh.
I cry very easily, but they showed up and showed out
Hmm.
for me while I've been in this process, which lends itself to it reminds me that they believe in what I'm doing,
Hmm.
um, and that they trust that I'm following the path I'm supposed to be following.
Yes, yes, I believe that too. I mean, you don't really create art, I believe, as powerful as this story unless you are in alignment, walking and writing in alignment. So I'm on board with your village. I believe in everything that you are putting your thoughts and your energy towards. I want to thank you for being my very first author spotlight. Thank you for writing this brilliant book. Thank you for writing your second book that I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get into. I appreciate you for letting me pick your brain about your process. I'm also a bit of an introvert, so I understand like sticking your head out a little bit, socializing, doing all
And
the
going back in your hole.
right, and then right back in it. I fully understand that. Y'all, go grab this book. Go grab Looking for Hope. I want someone else to talk about it with. So go get it, read it. For sure, go to your indie bookstores and be like, there's a book, there's an author that y'all need to have on your shelves. I will be doing the same because there's no reason why the Philadelphia independent bookstores should not have this book on its shelves. Any last words that you would like to share?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me as your first guest. It has been an absolute honor. It's funny that you put out the call on Threads, and I'd already been following you, and I was like, oh, we're very similar. Like we
Yeah.
we like a lot of the same things, and so I'm just honored that you had me as a guest, and honored that you would read the book, and very glad that you enjoyed it. And I hope we stay connected. And
Oh, for
I
sure.
definitely will be, sending some folks your way. And it's been a pleasure. I
Oh, well,
enjoyed it.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. To my viewers and my listeners, thank you so much for spending time with us here on Blurbs and Verbs today. Your voice matters, your story matters, and the world becomes a better place when you share them. So until next time, bye y'all.